Thanks for tuning in to the Todd Allbaugh Show. You may notice that's not Todd Allbaugh. We have Trigby Olson, a senior advisor at the Lincoln Project, and one of our normal Wednesday guests is filling in for Todd because he's busy at the Civic Media Conclave today. We're going to have on State Senator Kelder Roys. We're going to have on Reed Galen from the Union. Let's talk a little bit about music. It's going to be a good time.
Talk a little bit about the Green Bay Packers, baby. Training camp, day one, in the books.
It's excellent critic and audience reviews. Very well done, Mr. Wonderfully Wisconsin.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency
And then
to
I will
aid,
also
from
give you
crisis
hand
to
signals
care.
like,
This
3
life-saving
minutes,
care
2
is
minutes, or
made
whatever,
possible by a global
that kind of
movement
stuff. All
supporters
right, we got
like
about
you.
20 seconds
Thank you.
till we kick it off.
All right.
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. From Tomahawk to Two Rivers to Toma and all the way to Tokyo via the Civic Media Radio app. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. I am not Todd Allbaugh. I am your regular Wednesday guest, Trigby Olson, principal at Viking Strategies, co-founder of the Lincoln Project. I am joined today on the board, as always, by Mr. Aaron Zommers.
Hump day.
That may not be me, but yes, it is Wednesday. It is a hump day.
What's up with your voice today? You sound like the camel.
Maybe I do. I don't know.
You're so overwhelmed with the first day of Packers training camp, Zommers.
Well, of course.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a great day to be in Wisconsin. Every day is a great day to be in Wisconsin, but it's a particularly great day to be in Wisconsin when the Green Bay Packers training camp is opening up. Todd is off today at a Civic Media Conclave, or I don't know what they're doing exactly. I just know that he and Pat have abandoned me and they asked that I host the show. So I hope everybody will bear with me. I usually am better as the John Madden to Todd's Pat Summerall, but Zommers and I are going to do our best. We've got a great show coming up. We have State Senator Kelder Roys going to be on the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the University of Wisconsin system budget, why she voted no. We're going to talk a little bit about things that make Wisconsin great, and I want to talk to her a little bit about the state of politics in general in the state of Wisconsin. I want to take lots of callers from across the state of Wisconsin. We can talk about a lot of topics. I want to talk a little bit about how they see Jeffrey Epstein and what's playing out. Congress has decided to go on a giant hiatus. Can you believe they're taking all of August off, Zommers? Wouldn't you like to have August off? I'd like to have August off.
Yeah, I wish I could say I'm surprised, but it seems like they like to get paid while doing nothing pretty often.
Yeah, I know. Now, I'm sure Derek Van Oddone will say that he's doing important things, traveling the
yes.
state and ignoring his constituents by not holding town halls. And I don't know what Tom Tiffany will be doing. Who knows? It is interesting to me, though. I saw recently somebody posted it on my Facebook feed. Well, not on my feed, but it was on my feed. And Tom Tiffany is bragging about how he got several $1 million for shipping in Superior. And I thought, well, that's all fine and dandy that he got that. But the question that I have is, what falls into like things we should be doing and shouldn't be doing, right? Like for me personally, I'm all about supporting the shipping industry in Superior. I really am. But at the same time, like if we're going to be laying off 1,300 diplomats, which would be like laying off fighter pilots at a time of rising global escalating tensions, these are the people. These aren't the career people. This would be like getting the Packers getting rid of their offensive linemen, and just not replacing them. Um, why would you do that? So it seems antithetical to what he's about. So we may talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk some about music, one of my favorite topics. I'm hoping that people can call in. Ozzy Osbourne passed away. If you're a child of the 80s like me, the Oz was something that I'm glad I got to see him live when he was still young. I didn't get to see him in the Black Sabbath days. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And of course, we would be remiss not to talk about the Green Bay Packers. And when Reed comes on, we're going to talk a lot of politics too. So that's what we're going to do with the show today. I want to kick things off, actually, by talking a little bit about why I think Wisconsin is such a unique place. And for those of you who don't know my background, I grew up in River Falls. I spent my college years at the University of Wisconsin Eau Claire, which Zommers, no offense to Madison, but I still think Eau Claire from 86 to 1991, I hate to admit, it was on the 5-year plan. It was the greatest place on the earth. It had to have been. It was phenomenal. I then worked in Wisconsin politics for a while, and then I had the opportunity to go travel around the world. I've had the chance to work in over 40 countries on 5 continents. I've been to about 70 different countries around the world. And I get asked periodically, what is my favorite place that I have ever been? And I continue to say my favorite place in the world is the bridge over the St. Croix River, because I am in the best place on planet Earth when I cross it, no matter where I go. Wisconsin is an amazing place, and people in Wisconsin, I think, recognize that to a degree, but it's also important, and one of the things we talk about on this show quite a bit, and I hope to get into with State Senator Rice, is there are things that have been the traditional elements that have made Wisconsin such a special place, that are falling apart because we're spending too much time identifying and wearing red or blue hats and not nearly enough wearing green and gold. So I hope that as people are calling in, one of the things that we can talk about is what is it that makes Wisconsin great, and how those things are not what they used to be, and why that is, because I think that is incredibly, incredibly important. I also was looking at headlines today. For those of you who haven't seen the headlines, and Mr. Zommers is on the phone because I was going to give him a little bit of a bad time about this. Wisconsin has 2 cities that are on the list of the healthiest in the United States, both of which have fallen. One is Madison, Wisconsin, and the other is Milwaukee. And Milwaukee fell 8, 10 places. Madison fell a few too. I think that's kind of interesting to me, that in a couple of ways. One, having lived in a lot of places, I will tell you, people in Wisconsin, one of the great parts about people in Wisconsin is they're not particularly self-absorbed. That doesn't mean that you don't run into some people, but most of the places, I live in Arlington, Virginia now part of the time, which is the #1 rated healthy community in the country, and there's a lot of self-obsessed people. So I don't know what that says, other than I'm just kind of thinking that people might find that little insight interesting. Zommers, you have any insights into why Wisconsin's falling on the healthy ratings? What's going on with that?
I mean, I'm probably not helping. I'm certain. Although I'm healthier than I was, so maybe I am. I don't know. But
I think you are. You lost some weight.
I did. I think I don't know if it has to do with insurance issues and rural hospitals closing. And yes, that's in rural areas of Wisconsin, but maybe that's causing people to move more into cities who are less healthy. I'm not sure, but those are some of my guesses at least.
I think one of the issues that is going to be a bigger issue, not just in Wisconsin, but particularly in Wisconsin. And in fact, I say this to, I've been saying this to people out here in DC. The big, beautiful bill is not big and beautiful for rural healthcare. And I mentioned Eau Claire earlier in my time there. You've already had 2 major hospitals closed there. And I think one of the things that people in places like Eau Claire, or even more importantly, in the rural areas around places like Eau Claire, are going to see is that there's going to be decreasing access to healthcare, or they're going to have to drive further to get it. And I can tell you, having grown up in a place like River Falls and watched that transition, and then gone through the aging process with my mother, there's a lot of things in a place like River Falls now where you have to go to the Twin Cities to get that kind of healthcare. In part because a lot of the doctors, the River Falls, they're owned by a big Twin Cities firm. A lot of the doctors come from out there, and so if you're going to go see a specialist, you have to either wait till the day that they're there, or if you need to see them right away, you have to travel to them. That's going to be happening all across Wisconsin. People, you're going to see this consolidation. And I think that has a lot of negative consequences. Don't you? I mean, here's the thing. It used to be, you're probably too young for this. It used to be that everybody knew the doctor in their town, and the doctor knew you. That isn't the way that it is anymore, and it's only going to get worse with what's happened in the big, beautiful bill.
I mean, I've even noticed that growing up, and it wasn't everybody knows the doctor, but there were a few doctors that everybody knew when I was a kid, and it'd be like, oh, you see this person? Yeah, even the pediatricians and the adult doctors. But now they turn over staff so quickly that you don't really have that.
Yeah, and like out here where I am, I'll tell you, in Arlington, Virginia, it's hard to find a GP. Like, I feel lucky. In fact, my GP, I was a little hesitant because, I'm a Gen X guy. When I lost my doctor, he was leaving. He was retiring to go to the work with vets in the Department of Veterans Affairs at a veterans hospital. That's what he wanted to do in his retirement. But he recommended this woman to me. She was 30 years old, and I'm like, I'm going to have a 30-year-old lady as my doctor. I wasn't really sure about it. Turned out to be great. She's fantastic. And you know what? She's an American success story. She immigrated from Afghanistan when she was in 6th grade.
Wow.
Yep. And both she and her twin sister, they didn't really speak much language. They grew up in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. Dad did whatever he could to get by. They ended up both she and her sister. So there is a piece of me that I'm always like, she's what makes America great. But at the same time, people across Wisconsin are gonna start running into that. I mean, if you live in Madison, Wisconsin, it may not be as big a deal. But if you live, Eau Claire's a pretty big city. Eau Claire's and Chippewa Falls Hospital closed too, right? So you've got 2 major hospitals that closed. What's going to happen with the smaller rural hospitals? That's going to be a real issue. And if you live in Osseo, or you live in, places that used to have hospitals, Boscobel, you're going to have to travel to get that. I wonder how much people understood the consequences of that when they've, those who have been, oh, well, Trump supports its big, beautiful bill, if they really get that, and what the trade-off was. I mean, I don't know. Zommers, what do you think? I mean, you're getting calls every day. I only get calls on Wednesdays when I'm on the show, but I just think I'd be interested what listeners think.
I would too. Yeah. And if you want to call into the show, you can call in at 855-752-4842. That is 855-752-4842 if you want to share your thoughts on it. I think a lot of the people who do call into the show were aware that this would happen, but I definitely had several of the callers say that a lot of the people they know didn't think it would. And they're like, oh, you're overreacting. Or did they really say that? And then now that it's starting to happen, they're like, we probably should have looked into that a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I just think, and then again, and then you have Congress going on vacation for a month, right? Not going to work the month of August. I just think it's going to be the kind of thing that people are going to see. We're just about up against a break. One of the you regular listeners, one of the things you're going to discover here is when Zommers and I get to choose the boards our intro music is going to be awesome today, I think. Well, maybe if you're a Gen X hair metalhead, it will be awesome. Todd isn't going to be able to listen to the show, is he? Because he's probably going to wonder what we're doing with his music.
I think he knows. I think he knows what it's going to be.
Well, we're going to be rocking here. I hope you'll stay with us, and I hope you'll call in. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm your guest host, Trygve Olsen. We'll be right back. Good on the break?
Conversation 92.7 WMDX.
Craft cocktails, live events, a playground for the kids, and yes, self-serve instant ramen bar and drag bingo. It's all at Downdren's Distilling in Cottage Grove. It's not your average tasting room. Pet-friendly, family-friendly, flavor-packed. Visit downdrens.com or stop by today.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. In February of 2024, Governor Tony Evers signed new maps for the Wisconsin State Legislature into law, putting an end to one of the most extreme partisan gerrymanders anywhere in the country. While that was a momentous achievement for democracy in the state, that wasn't the end of the story. Since then, for more than a year, Fair Maps advocates and pro-democracy activists have been looking to take the next step and propose a new plan for independent redistricting in Wisconsin that would be here for the long haul. It's a compelling, well-constructed plan that would take the job of drawing
All right,
maps
we've
away
got
from the politicians
two
who run for
people
office
on the line right
those
now.
very maps.
Mark from
Wednesday
Prairie du
feature
Sac
story
called
takes a
in.
closer look
He was
inside
originally
the
calling about the
citizen-led
shipping stuff,
grassroots effort
but I
that
imagine
goes
he'll have
from the
something to
idea
say about
phase
this
to
as
being
well.
presented to the public.
And
Because
Kenneth
we
in Stoughton is
absolutely
calling in
need
about
a
the rural
long-term
hospital
solution
issue.
for redistricting reform in
Also, I
Wisconsin
heard
so
back
we
from
don't
Terry
end up
Barr,
seeing either political party
and she should
gerrymander
be able to
Wisconsin's
join us
maps
at
ever
3:20.
again.
Find all of Dan's
Awesome.
work at the
So in the second
recombobulation
hour.
area.
Awesome. All right. What was the second person's name?
Kenneth in
Oh
Stoughton.
yeah, let's take Kenneth in Stoughton first.
They sell
Okay,
new,
sounds good.
used and new clothes, home goods, toys, furniture, and more. All proceeds support the comfort and care of animals in need. Dane County Humane Society thrift stores. Shop Thrift Store West on Watts Road and Thrift Store East on High Crossing Boulevard. Visit giveshelter.org/thrift to learn more.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. My training helps me at work when I lead by example. My service
Back
in the
in
Army
about
National
30
Guard
seconds.
allows me to keep my community in those.
One way or another, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna get you. One way or another, I'm gonna win you. I'm gonna get you.
From
One way
Siren
or
to
another,
Shawano, all the way to Stoughton on the Civic Media Radio Network, and all the way to Singapore, or I can't think of another place that starts with an S that's somewhere around the world. But wherever you are in the world, you can listen to the Todd Allbaugh Show and a lot of other great shows on the Civic Media Radio app. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. We're pursuing truth wherever it may lead. And for those of you who know Todd's voice, which is probably known anywhere, you know I am not Todd Allbaugh, but I am pretending to be him today. Todd is off at a civic media conclave making important decisions about the future of I don't know what. Actually, I have no idea what they're meeting about. I just know that Todd and Pat said that Zommers and I were in charge today. Hence, we got a little Blondie. You won't hear that any other times. Do you ever play Blondie, Zommers?
If we have, it's been a while.
Yeah, see, probably when I was on the show. I like Blondie. I think Blondie, we can talk about this with Terry Barr, our musical expert. But I kind of think Blondie is underrated.
I would agree.
We're gonna come at you with something. This is one of the things that I kind of like. There's a lot of things I don't like about the newer artists, you know? Like, I'm okay on Taylor Swift because those of you who listen regularly know I have two daughters, 13 and 16. And actually went to a Taylor Swift concert. I also went to a Katy Perry concert. Ugh. Anyway, but what I will say that's kind of nice about those kind of artists of your generation, Summers, is they pay tribute to a lot of these other artists, and we're
They
gonna have a
do.
little Miley Cyrus doing that. I like that. I like that a lot. So speaking of Stoughton, we have Kenneth in Stoughton, who I want to go to. Kenneth wants to talk a little bit about rural healthcare. Kenneth, are you there?
I am here,
How are you
and
today?
I guess pretty good. A nice hot summer day, but it's summer and it's supposed to be hot, so that's the way it is.
Yeah. It beats 20 below, right?
I'm with you there. Anyway, I just wanted to make a comment. I live in rural Stoughton, about 2 or 3 miles outside of the city itself. Been involved with town government. My wife's involved with town government. But I can tell you that one of the other aspects of healthcare is ambulance service. And luckily, Stoughton has a hospital, and we have excellent ambulance coverage. But if you're 40, 50 or more miles away from a hospital, if you do have a need, it is going to be touch and go, in my opinion, whether one, an ambulance will be available, and two, can they make a timely trip when time is of the essence? I think that's a part that people don't think about when they think about rural healthcare. It's just, do I eat right? Do I go see my doctor when I should? If something happens, whether it's an accident or a heart attack or whatever, that's, you're going to probably be on your own to get there.
Kenneth, that is a fantastic point. And that is the kind of services that end up going first, right? It's going to be those kinds of things. It's going to be hospitals, but what it's also going to be, up where I'm from, up in St. Croix County, my mom was on the county board for a long time, and they have a facility for aging adults. Those kinds of facilities for people who have less, they aren't going to be available either. Or people are going to have to drive a lot further. It's sad.
Yeah, in Sauk County, I have friends that still live in Sauk County, and they just went through a controversy of selling the county senior citizen facility to a private vendor, I believe. And way back, I'm 76 years old, but my mother worked for what was called a county farm back in the day, and that was for disabled and mentally disabled and just elderly people who had no place to go. And I mean, that's long since gone by the wayside, but the replacements are still a county function in a lot of cases.
Well, here's the
anyway,
thing. I think your point about the ambulances is a great one. And here's the thing that I think, and I say this as somebody who spent all these years working in politics, but what people don't understand is it's easy to say I'm against waste, fraud, and abuse. Everybody's against waste, fraud, and abuse. But when the devil is in the detail, one person's waste, fraud, and abuse may very well be somebody's grandma's ambulance not showing up when they've fallen down the stairs and they need they need an ambulance, right? Or waste, it's one of the things with Doge. Doge identified as redundant and waste, fraud, and abuse, a hotline that helped veterans who had PTSD. Well, it's not really waste, fraud, and abuse if your husband is an Iraq veteran who needs help and he has no one picking up the phone because somebody has said it's waste, fraud, and abuse. It's sad. It's really, really sad. Well, thanks for calling in, Kenneth. I really appreciate it. We're going to take Mark in Prairie du Sac quickly. Mark, we've got 2 minutes, so a little less than 2 minutes. What's your question? And if we have to, I'll answer it on the other side.
Yeah, I think that they're closing down the CHS grain terminal in Superior, where it's a minimal number of people that are getting laid off there. But I mean, it's the largest one in Superior. Going up there in Superior, I saw all south of Superior. I saw all the salties coming in there and getting loaded up with grain. And for the whole hospital thing, that when I was born up in Superior back in the 1958, there was several hospitals in Superior itself, including the church, the Catholic Church had a hospital up there. I mean, there's the county hospital. I think there was another hospital there, and all these hospitals are just combined together. And there's a big one in Superior, but there's a hospital on the highway there at Rice Lake, but a lot of our smaller communities used to have hospitals in those communities, and those are gone. So now you have to go much further, to get any kind of care at all, and that waste run. You talk about hotlines. Well, what about the hotline for kids? LGBTQ to kids
100%.
that they cut that service out for those kids because they don't
100%.
they're uncomfortable about those kids. For God's sakes, those kids need services too.
They do. Mark, great points. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. I'm your guest host, Trigby Olson. We'll be right back after the break.
Listening to 92.7 WMDX.
How we doing, Zommers?
Good.
Reach,
I think
engage,
got some good
grow
calls and
with
stuff.
Civic Media.
We got a
Log on
text from Sean in Richmond Center who
civic.us/advertise.
says, I'd be interested in the story of how Todd and
Agencies in
Trigby know each
Wisconsin
other.
now have a
Oh.
clear vision on the monies that
Sure.
have been granted to them through the state
Sean
budget.
in Richland
I'm DM Yankee
Center.
with a quick update on what's happening in food and farming news on
And
a
then
Wednesday.
we should
And that
have,
includes Randy Romansky,
that might have to
our
be
Wisconsin
sometime in the
Department of
second
Ag and
hour.
Consumer Protection
Um,
Secretary. He
because
said
we
he's
should
very,
have
very happy to see the monies
Kelder
that the
Roy's
state's
hopping on
investing in
shortly
things
here.
like food security programs, county conservation staff, and animal health
Yes,
professionals.
looks like she's
Within
getting
the state
set
budget,
right
money was
now.
allotted to provide 3 staff positions at the Department of Agriculture's Division of Animal Health to support potential animal
Thanks for
disease
coming on.
outbreak coordination
Thank
as
you.
well
Good
as
to see you.
response.
Senator, how are you? It's good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me, Trigby.
I tell you what, you're gonna have to drive this bus. I'm not usually the one who's hosting. I'm more. I said that at the outset. I'm more John. I'm gonna date myself here. I'm more John Madden than Pat Summerall. I don't do play-by-play. I'm the Larry McCarran of this operation, but I'm trying to be the Wayne Larrabee today. So
Well, if you could translate that into a Broadway reference.
I could do a Broadway reference with that. I'm playing Thomas Jefferson, not Hamilton, in this show usually. But
Fair enough.
today, the understudy is in the starring role. How about that?
No problem. All About Eve is here from the background to take over.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to think of a Phantom of the Opera reference, but I couldn't. You know, back before we had kids, Zommers, how long do we have?
We have 3 minutes.
Oh, good. So I can tell you this. So back before we had kids, the one upside, I don't really like living in DC, but it fits because my wife, does foreign policy sort of related stuff. But when we first came here, it was before we had kids, and we used to go up to New York to see shows all the time.
Mhm.
And at one point, she's Lithuanian. At that time, she was with the Lithuanian Foreign Ministry. They offered her a job up at the UN. It's like the number 2 at the UN, and we debated it. And I just said, you know what, this Wisconsin boy cannot do New York City, but I'll go up there and see shows with you anytime. And so yeah. And my kids think that's funny because like most people who know me probably wouldn't know that I'm kind of at the Broadway. I love that. We try and go up still now that the girls are a little older once a year.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's fun.
You know, the one thing though that's interesting about the Broadway shows is so now when you go and do that, so many of them, they're all these like musical things, right? Like there's MJ, there's Tina Turner,
Yeah.
the musical, Neil
It's like-
Diamond, like,
Not the story. It's just
No.
whatever music you know.
yeah, it's
a bit
completely
sad.
changed.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing that I didn't know about it is I was talking to somebody who's in that business. Most of those big shows are produced by like Disney and
Right.
like big corporate entities,
Yeah,
Paramount and whatever.
The whole game has completely changed. Broadway is just like yet another channel for distribution of their copyrighted content.
Right. Right.
My
Which is
best friend
interesting.
from college is a musical theater composer, and I wrote musicals in college, and
Oh, cool.
yeah, so it's
That's
definitely
awesome.
a passion of mine.
Have you ever
and-
seen the one I forget what it's called about the queens? There's like the 5 queens or whatever. It's
Oh.
that was written for a college. The story of that, I was reading it when we went for our anniversary. It was here in DC, the Broadway version, but it was written by some students at some college in the UK and won at a festival and ended up as one of the most popular Broadway shows of the last 20 years. I forget what it's called.
That's so cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what we've been talking about. I don't know if you caught. We've been talking about closure of rural hospitals and
Mhm.
taking calls from people who are raising issues like ambulances and all kinds of things that I
Oh,
think
yeah.
people aren't talking about. What I want to talk with you a little bit about is the UW system, though.
Okay.
I saw you voted no on the budget. One of my big things has been
30 seconds.
one of the cornerstones of what makes Wisconsin great is the University of Wisconsin system and the whole Wisconsin idea. Like where I'm from in River Falls, it's the cornerstone of the community, right?
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about that because I want people to understand the assault, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. 10 seconds.
Across Wisconsin from River Falls to Racine, all the way to Richland Center. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show, and all his homies in RC know I am not Todd Allbaugh. I am your guest host and regular Wednesday guest, Trigby Olson. Todd and Pat have abandoned me, but Zommers is on the board, so we are taken care of on that, and we have a very special guest, State Senator Kelda Royce, who is here. We were talking during the break for those who get to see behind the scenes, and I probably exposed something that people would not have known about me, that I am a huge Broadway show fan. So we were talking a little bit about that. But State Senator, it's great to have you on. I want to talk about the University of Wisconsin system. But before that, how are you doing? You have a different backdrop. You're not in the office today.
Yeah. I'm doing well. I'm going to spend a little time with my kids this week, which is nice because of course we were consumed with budget shenanigans for the first half of the summer.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
The little ones are 11, 7, and 3.5. And then I have 2 young adult stepdaughters who are wonderfully launched, and I get to see them as often as I can.
Oh, how awesome. That is so good. I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old daughter. And then my oldest, which I've been writing about on my Substack page, my oldest was stillborn at 37 weeks, Vilta, whose name means hope. But I've been writing about that because there isn't a lot about stillbirth and fathers when we went through that. And I will have to say, even in this world of crazy partisanship, I've been posting links to them on both X and Blue Sky. The response has made me actually kind of happy about humanity because I've gotten, even from both sides, people who've gone through it, dads who've gone through it, and it's a reminder every day. As I said in one of those, I'm not sure that I would have my 13-year-old. I don't know why God didn't want me to have Vilta, but I do know that I need Kaya in my life every day, and so yeah. But we're looking at colleges. In fact, I'm super excited about this, and maybe I can have my daughter meet you while we're there. We could get together. She's going to look at the University of Wisconsin, and we are going to go out for a Badger game because I'm thinking if I can sell her on jumping around, like maybe that will be the choice. So
sounds good. And then I'll take her on an ice cream tour afterwards because I'm the expert on that.
Well, she's already been to the ice cream place at the Union, so she'll be all about that. So let's talk a little bit about the university. I saw that the last time you were on, and it was on a Wednesday, at least that I was on, we talked about the UW. You voted no on the budget, but they did add money back into the budget. Talk a little bit about that and what's the thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think the broader context here is the tremendous defunding of public higher education in Wisconsin over the last 40 years. Basically, over my lifetime, we went from having, really being the public education state, both K-12 and higher ed, to being 47th in the nation in our investment in our public university. And what that's doing is just shutting the doors of opportunity for the next generation of Wisconsin kids. And that's unacceptable to me. So the budget request this year from the universities of Wisconsin was to try to restore some of the funding that's been cut over the last 15 years of cuts. And the money that came through, well appreciated, is a far cry from what is needed. And it comes with some really devastating strings attached that's, is going to potentially hamstring the university's ability to continue to be leaders in research.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people miss in that debate is you look at Epic, right? Huge driver of the economy. And I've been in the process with some people and working on a tech related business startup. And they all know about Epic because Epic is an American success story. It's not just a Wisconsin success story. It is a Wisconsin success story. That only exists because of the University of Wisconsin and the talent. And with that tech company that I've been working on, I needed to find a kid to do tech. I was interviewing kids from MIT. I ended up finding a kid from the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, who not only is super smart about tech, which all the MIT kids were pretty smart about tech, but is super personal and like has both an EQ and an IQ. Not knocking the MIT kids. They were super smart, but and I just think, why are they not understanding that the University of Wisconsin system is the hub that makes Wisconsin great? Like, it is the axle that drives the wheel, and they don't get it.
And, honestly, brilliant people can come from everywhere, and we shouldn't be 100%. Rationing access to educational opportunity based on what zip code you come from, who your parents are, how much money you have. That's crazy.
No, it's so true. And I will tell you, I mean, I graduated from the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, right? And, I've been lucky in my life to get to, I never would have imagined if you'd approached me when I was at Eau Claire and said, this is how your life's going to turn out, that my life turned out that way. But I mean, I've dealt with people who've gone to, Ivy League schools and all these different places. And I have never felt like Eau Claire didn't prepare me incredibly well to be in those rooms, whether they were with people like Angela Merkel or Lech Walesa or people who are global leaders, or the biggest advantage was, but I could go into a bar and talk to normal people too, right? Like because of what I learned. And yeah, I want to ask you about something else. There's been some people in the Republican Party. I know my old buddy from Badger Boy State, Scott Walker, who was running for governor when we were all there in '85, or president, whatever he was running for. The rest of us were trying to meet the girls from Carroll College who worked in the lunchroom. But he had this thing where he was saying we should only do science and technology, not liberal arts. I don't understand that.
Well, I just think it's such a limited worldview. I mean, and I want to be like perfectly clear. You should not need a college degree to be able to have a good life, right? Everybody deserves 100%. To have a job that they can, be happy doing, that allows them to sustain themselves and build a family and the life that they want. And we need to expand access to our technical colleges, to apprenticeships, to military service, other forms of public service, along with public higher education. But the idea that we've got workforce shortages everywhere, but you don't need communication skills if you're going to be working on technology. I don't know if you've looked at the technology companies. We're living in like a dystopian hellscape. We could really use some people who actually care about making the world a better place in those technology companies. Same thing with healthcare, same thing with engineering, right? How are you going to solve problems if you can't communicate with people about what their challenges are?
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like I kind of fell into this AI tech thing that we're working on. And I really think at the end of the day, I mean, I do have days where I'm like, I'm a 57-year-old guy, like working on technology, like AI, like what? But then there's the piece of me that's like, a bunch of tech people making tech for tech's sake, that doesn't get us anywhere. In fact, one of the things that we're going to try and do with what we're building is to have an entire sort of advisory board that's made up of a whole cross section that looks like America. And to your point, one of the things that I've, so in River Falls, when I was growing up, or in Eau Claire, it wasn't just the universities, it was Western Wisconsin area technical colleges. I have a lot of buddies who went to, the Wisconsin Area Technical College has got great jobs at places like Anderson Windows, and have had amazing lives. I have days, honestly, where I think that I wish I would have maybe gone that route and still in River Falls, if you want to know the truth.
Well,
So,
yeah, right. And the cost of education just keeps going up and up and up. And we've talked a lot because the cuts to the university system have been so just enormous. But the technical college system has also not been getting the investments that it needs and deserves. And so they've got long waiting lists. Here we've got a shortage in healthcare, in education, in caregiving, in public service, firefighting, police. And we've got kids and young people who want to do these careers, and they can't get into the technical colleges because the state is not providing the funding. So we've got bottlenecks that we need to address all throughout education.
Well, and that's, to pivot a little bit on education, right? So one of, the other backbone of the small towns across Wisconsin is public education. It's the high school football game. It's the high school band. It's the feeder system to our economies, right? Whether people decide to go to a tech school or get a job right away or go to college, it's the feeder. But it's also the hub and the heartbeat of the community. Or in a place like Madison, where you're from, right? They were a big rival in hockey when I was in high school. People bleed Madison Memorial versus Madison West. Like anybody who goes to college in Wisconsin finds that out pretty fast because there'll be kids from both there, right? But occasionally
there'll be kids from East too. Trigby, come on.
Yeah, well, that is true. I forgot about Madison East.
Yeah, no worries.
Somewhere my buddy Mitch Gerathanis is going to be pinging me on Facebook. I guarantee you. Exactly. But here's the thing: is that so the funding issue, and I'll admit this, I was working in sort of Tommy Thompson world when we tried to set up the 3 legs to the stool. That stool now only has 1 leg. There was no intention that it wasn't going to be updated for 40 years. There's part of me, and maybe this is just trying to make up for my own guilt, trying to say, well, that's law of unintended consequences. But what's fascinating is with what they're doing to the UW system, to me, this is intentional.
Of course it is. Yeah. And I think, you didn't have to scratch the surface very hard during Walker's governorship to understand what he was doing and why, and pushing the politics of resentment that just try to pit people against each other and, make our communities less connected and less united versus what if we had leaders that actually wanted to solve problems, that actually wanted to help expand opportunities for all kids, not divide us into these small subgroups and say, you're special and you're picked and you're going to be punished. And I think that's, we see where that politics has taken us. And now we're living this horrific situation under the Trump regime, the Republican regime in Washington. If we want to beat that, we have to do it with inclusive politics that bring people together and provide meaningful, tangible opportunities for their kids. Because people my age and younger do not have the sense that our kids and us have the same opportunities to succeed that our parents did.
100%. And that's the kind of message. And I know you're out and about around the state, which is something I completely respect because, there's a lot of people. We used to go out north of Highway 8 for our fun up to a buddy's cabin, which I still love going north of Highway 8. Democrats haven't done so well there because they demagogue people from Madison. But people up there are going to resonate. That message is going to resonate more and more that you're out spreading. And it becomes a lot harder for them to just demagogue you as, oh, she's from Madison, right? Senator, I hope can you stay with us through the break and be on the other side?
Yeah.
Great. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. We have State Senator Kelda Roys with us. I'm Trigby Olson. We'll be right back after we pay some bills.
To be a pain in the ass. She like the real thing, only to find. But to be sure, there's gone behind.
Sounders, did I break early?
As Wisconsin is summer
What's that?
weekends being
Did I break early?
I mean, maybe a little. I mean, not Todd. Todd goes farther than he needs to. So no, you're fine.
Oh. You also probably violated FCC rules with Miley did.
You can say ass.
Oh, you can? Oh.
You can.
Oh, all right.
You cannot say certain variations of ass, but ass itself is okay.
It is. I have Terry Barr coming on to talk like bad 80s music with me as part of the show today, which is pretty far afield from Todd's usual show, but I thought that would be kind of fun. I think your message, like the more that you get out and about, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, like it sounds like Evers isn't running again, but and you don't have to comment on this because we're live. But like the message that you're saying about education, I truly believe, given what people in Wisconsin, and I say this, take it for what it's worth. I used to advise Mitch McConnell, so I don't know a lot about primaries on your side, but I'll say this: statewide in a general, I think it resonates in a strong way. Really does.
Yeah, I mean, the governor can take all the time he needs to make a decision, but I got to say, like, my plan is to continue traveling all over the state so that we have a Democratic trifecta in 2026, because I think we have gone so far to one side. We do need to kind of get back to basics, and it's not really to me about left, right. It's about, are we moving forward? And are we expanding opportunity or not? And that's what I'm hearing from people across the political spectrum, because I do think there's a lot more agreement when you get into these kind of fundamental issues about economics.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think those public education, the University of Wisconsin system and idea, economic development, rural healthcare is going to become huge. And that's kind of a bonus one. But there is going to be an opportunity in the rural areas for a Democrat if they, I mean, it just, I think the governor, I say this all the time, if I could move back to Wisconsin and have the governor be my neighbor, like that would be awesome. Like he's the guy who would bring you a casserole if your dog died, which is, he really is that guy. Like he'd be the perfect neighbor. He'd collect your mail when you're on vacation. Like, and I think he's done a good job. But he hasn't, it's not like Gretchen Whitmer where she's just dismantled the other side, right? Because it's just not how he's built.
30 seconds.
But the right Democrat could do to Wisconsin Republicans what we did with Tommy Thompson in building a sustainable majority, if they would figure out how to capture the center.
Yeah.
They really could.
Well, I don't think you do it by stomping on people. You do it by bringing people and listening.
100%. Polly
10
Williams,
seconds.
first person we went to go see.
For the people all said, sit down, you're rocking the boat.
People all said, sit down, you're rocking the boat.
And the devil will drag you under by the sharp lapel of your checkered coat. Sit down, you're rocking the boat.
From Boscobel to Baraboo, all the way to Bayfield. And if you're listening via the Civic Media Radio app, you can even be in Belarus. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. By the way, if you are in Belarus, I won't be joining you, even when I'm in Lithuania in a couple of weeks, because I'm banned from Belarus. And I don't know why you'd want to be there. But if you're listening in Belarus, we're happy to have you. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. I'm Trygve Olsen, the typical Wednesday guest. I am now driving the bus for the day. I'm lucky to have State Senator Kelda Roys here joining me to help me carry me through. We've got Mr. Zommers on the board, who is wonderful with his choices of music. We've got a great show coming up. Senator and I were just talking about the role of education, but we also got into, and I think we were offline at the time, but we should talk a little bit about what, and I'm going to give the same caveat I gave. For those of you who are Democrats or on the left who are listening to this, take whatever I say with a grain of salt, that I used to help run Mitch McConnell's political world. But I'm all about democracy first. So currently, my party left me, not the other way around. But the senator and I were talking a little bit about what kind of message Democrats and what Democrats can do to build a sustainable, longer-term coalition that includes people that aren't currently part of it. And I've always believed that a big part of that is getting out around the state. And I know you're doing that, which I respect tremendously. Talk a little bit about what you're hearing when you're out and about
Well,
in
yeah,
Basketball or Baraboo or
you know,
Bayfield.
for many years, I've traveled around the state, and obviously it's only accelerated being in the Senate the last 5 years and serving on joint finance. It's strikingly similar. We've spent so much time talking about the things that separate us and what divides us and where people disagree, because that's obviously, that's sexy, that sells papers, that generates clicks. But I don't think that really is the story here in Wisconsin. Overwhelmingly, people want good schools for their kids. They believe their kids deserve quality public education. They want the schools in general in their communities to be better.
Right.
And that's true whether you've got kids in school or not. People want a government that works for you and isn't corrupt. They don't like the chaos and the corruption that we're seeing out of Washington. And people want to make sure that their kids and grandkids have the opportunity to build a better life and to do it here in Wisconsin. And these are not, crazy left-wing ideas, right? This is just what I hear from people across the state. They want to have opportunity and they want to have the freedom to build a great life here.
Well, and one of the things is somebody who's worked in national politics, but who's from Wisconsin, still considers Wisconsin home, that I think people sometimes don't understand about the state is I believe there's only, if you take out the independents who are like independent socialists, there's only 2 states in the country right now that have senators of different parties, Wisconsin being one of them. And knowing both Tammy and Ron, they're very different people. They're both, they're very different people, but that says something about what Wisconsin is looking for. And the center of Wisconsin is less for most people. Yes, you have the partisan extremes on both sides that try and demagogue. But for most people in Wisconsin, what they want is good schools to send their kids to. They want to have access to good jobs. They want to have access to healthcare. They want to be able to go out and hunt and not feel like, they want to protect conservation is something that actually matters on both sides. They're very reasonable people.
And they want to be left alone, for the things where government should not have its nose in your business. Like, to me, that is so obvious and very reasonable. Like, we want safe neighborhoods and communities. We want good schools for our kids and economic opportunities,
Right.
And other than that, like, just let us live our lives.
Right. But it's so easy to demagogue. I mean, to be honest, I do on this show, admittedly, like as I said before, I've known Scott Walker since Badger Boys State, and I've known him since high school. And in fact, I've known Robin, and Robin and I have known each other forever too. And we were both involved in college politics together. And I think, when I think about Scott in particular, what irritates me about it, and I would say this, and I say this again, I know Scott has people listening to the show when I'm on, because occasionally I get a call from them and they'll be like, "You've crossed the line." Scott could come on anytime he wants and have a very civil discussion. I would, but what irritates me is he broke something that wasn't his to break because of personal political ambition that he has harbored since he was at Badger Boys State. It was about getting on Fox News. It wasn't about what's best for the state. And he broke things that people like Pat Lucy and Warren Knowles and Tommy Thompson and Jim Doyle and a whole lot of people worked really hard to build. That there were some things in Wisconsin that were beyond, that we didn't do it the way that everybody else did that gets you on Fox News. And it just infuriates me that he broke that. But that's what he did for self-ambition. And I think most people in Wisconsin, and I've said this to somebody who's a potential Republican candidate if the governor doesn't run, I've said it to somebody who's a potential Democrat, I would say this to you. I would walk to Wisconsin to campaign for somebody, regardless of what their politics are, if I knew they were going to be a cheerleader for his state and bringing back those things that make Wisconsin special.
Right. I mean, and we are still that state, right? We don't need to be exploited for political gain by politicians who put themselves and their own interests before the rest of us. This is not something we have to accept. And I certainly don't. I mean, I love this state, and I never doubted that even when I disagree with like Tommy Thompson or Governor Doyle or Governor Evers, that they love this state and they are dedicated to it. And honestly, one of the best things Governor Evers has done is he showed us that we can be a normal state again. So thank you for that.
Well, Senator, I don't know what the governor is going to do, but you're one of the people. You wouldn't want me for a Democratic primary, but if you decide to run at some point, you're one of the people that I would think about walking all the way back to Wisconsin. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. I'm Trigby Olson. We'll be right back. And I mean that. I said that to David Mahoney. I've said it to so many people. I just wish we could find somebody, because it's not who we are. When my mom was dying of Alzheimer's and it got so bad with my sister, I was having to go back to River Falls this a couple of years ago, and I spent the entire summer. I'd spend all day with her, and then I'd work at night, living in a hotel there. There were people that had said such mean things on the right, who knew her, whatever, about Lincoln Project and me, and had sent me social media stuff. They were bringing me Steve's Pizza and beer because they felt bad. It's who they are. I really felt bad for them because they're being exploited by politicians. And I've seen that around the world. Like, that's what the Putins do. That's what the Milosevics do. Like, it's just so sad because it's not who they are. I'm like, how do you not see the cognitive dissonance?
Well,
Seriously.
I think, it takes a lot of different voices to pull us back from the brink. So I'm very glad to be your compatriot in that.
I am glad too. And I will tell you, one of the best parts of this journey that I've gone through was sort of the party leaving me. It's been so neat getting to be reminded of. It wasn't like I didn't know it, but people like you, people like Ben, the people that I've gotten to know back in Wisconsin who are on the other side, who normally, some of whom we spent years beating each other's brains in, who are now on the same side because we care about democracy and we care about the state. It really, it heartens me. And it's, like, it really is. You put you and I in a room, we're probably not going to agree on, we'll probably agree on more than what you'd think. We'd find compromise, no doubt, but we'd come from it at a different place. And that's perfectly okay. But man, I don't understand these people who are allowing that to happen. And what I really don't understand is these people that I've known who, Scott's a different case, but there's times like Robin with the UW system. For God's sakes, he was the first student regent. There were 3 candidates. Robin and I were 2 of them. If one of us didn't get out of the race, it wasn't going to be one of us. And I was like, I don't really care. I'd rather go chase girls and drink beer on Water Street. Right?
Worked out for you.
Yeah, it worked out okay for me. I guess it worked out for him too. But at least I get to live. At least I get to live true to myself.
You seem happy though. I will say, you seem like a joyful
I might be happier than Robin at the moment. I don't know. He seems pretty happy though. So
not
anyway. No, not lately. Not lately. It's been a real pleasure having you on. And when I'm out there, I'll definitely ping you. It would be great to get together and we can go grab some cheese curds and something at the Old Fashioned. All right. Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming on.
Bye.
Yep. Have a wonderful day. She's phenomenal, Zomers.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad that she's my representative.
They've had a nearly 20% increase in people served just from 2023 to 2024.
You know what's crazy? I think does she have the isthmus in her district?
Across the nation.
I think
and now
so.
millions of people could lose
what
their
is it about
I'm
that?
really close to the isthmus.
Tammy represented that district too in the state assembly. Tammy Baldwin is one of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my entire life.
Olson, 92.7.
I don't think I've actually met her yet.
Yep, I've only talked to her once since she was in the U.S. Senate. I ran into her on the street, but I dealt with her some when she was in the state legislature. And she's phenomenal. Just a nice human being. And I think Kelda's like that too.
Thursday and Friday open to fans at 10:30 a.m. Baseball. The Brewers' 11-game winning streak came to an end.
All right, so what time is our out here?
Solo home run shot.
Oops, I don't. The reason I don't have my phone on,
the Brewers losing to the Mariners,
which I usually do, but I didn't want anybody to call me while I'm I'm hosting.
Brewers franchise
Right.
history. NBA,
Our out is
Damian
at
Lillard says after
20
suffering that
minutes.
torn Achilles tendon,
So it'll start at
some other
06
athletes
in
for
about
advice,
2 minutes,
including
and
Kevin
then
Durant and a former
it ends
Packers
at
player.
20.
You know, I know it's going to be a long journey. I know it's a challenge mentally, you know, just kind of
And
learning
at that
more
point,
about
Terry
it.
Barr is going to hop
talking
on here.
Aaron Rodgers and KD.
She's
and
thinking
Rudy
about
Gay, you know, all
what
these guys that experienced it and handled it
some of her
differently.
favorite
That's the Trailblazers, Damian
Ozzy
Lillard.
or
Sports on Mike Clemens.
Black Sabbath songs are.
Rebuilding and refreshing local radio one station at a time.
Awesome.
This Civic Media radio station is proud to be a part of your community. Learn more at civicmedia.us.
Sunny, hot, and muggy today. Our high right around 94. Heat index 105 or better.
Is she coming
this
on the next
afternoon.
segment?
Tonight, clear 75.
Yes, not this
tomorrow.
one, but the
Partly
one
cloudy,
after.
scattered
The following
thunderstorms
one.
with a
And
high
when's
of
Reed coming
89.
on?
I'm meteorologist
He
John
is coming
Cable.
on
Currently,
at
it's
the one after that, so
86.
at 35, I
Okay,
believe.
Great. So I've got the next one on my own. It's you and me.
Nightlight
Yes,
with
this
Pete Schwab.
one
I
that's
imagine we'll
happening.
And
talk
how
about
long is this
Superman.
one?
It's the same thing I said about F1.
It is
it's a great video.
14
The music is great.
minutes.
The action's great. The CGI
Oh, so
is
this is
great.
the
I don't
long
feel
one.
like they had to really
Yes.
develop the characters.
All right,
It
so we'll
was
take a bunch of
fine.
calls.
They did a really good
Yeah,
job
because we have
of
what's
showing
worse, so.
Superman's, humility.
Oh, yeah, we have
With
what's
you there.
worse.
One of my positives
Yes.
was
This
it 2
or
hours
that?
and 40
This
minutes, like
or that?
every other blockbuster
What are we
movie
doing
summer
for an
like
intro
that.
song?
Nightlight with Pete Schwab.
Uh,
6 till 8 on your local Civic Media
We should
radio
do some
station
Ozzy.
and on the Civic
Actually, we'll
Media
do
app.
Ozzy for the next one. We'll do Crazy Train or Bark at the Moon. For this
and I
one,
play
we
safety.
should do
CPR saved my life. I've teamed up with the American
Take a
Heart
Chance on
Association
Me
as a
by
national
ABBA.
ambassador to help create a nation of lifesavers, turning
If you change your mind, I'm the
CPR
first in
education
line.
and access to AEDs.
All right, I got to come
Remember,
up with
3
some
out of
good
4
cities
cardiac
here.
arrests that don't happen in
All right, we
hospitals
got
happen in
30
our homes.
seconds.
Join me to ensure everyone.
If you change your mind, I'm the first in line. Honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me. If you need me, let me know. Gonna be around. If you got no place to go when you're feeling down.
Across Wisconsin, from Hudson to Horicon, all the way to Hayward on the Civic Media Radio Network, and all the way to Hanoi if you're listening on the mobile app. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show, pursuing truth wherever it may lead. Now, I'd like to point out, we have a Richland Center listener on here, and he asked a very important question. Now, he's clearly one of Todd's homies, don't you think?
I believe so. Yeah, it's Sean in
does he
Richland
know
Center who
Todd?
texted
Do you know
me.
this guy before? Or is this somebody? Is this really somebody? Maybe it's Todd sending texts
I don't think so. No, he's
from
a
his
regular listener.
undisclosed location. All right. Well, the question for those of you who are listening, I'm Trig Olson, the guest host. I'm a regular Wednesday guest. I usually stay through Which Is Worse. But I am hosting today. But I was asked by somebody in Richland Center how Todd and I got to know each other. Todd and I got to know each other because Dale Schultz's Senate office was right next to a Senate office where I was working, not for a very long period of time. And then I went to the Lieutenant Governor's office. And Todd and I interacted quite often during that period. And fast forward, Todd worked for Scott Klug and Steve Gunnarsson. I had worked for Steve. And our mutual friend, Chris Andrews, who I do work with and I absolutely adore. She was my first boss. She was the greatest mentor I've ever had. Well, have and still have, quite frankly. She's not dead, so I shouldn't be talking about her in the past tense. She's amazing. She had also been a mentor for Todd. She was Scott Klug's chief of staff. She called me up. She said, Todd's going to have this radio show. Have you talked to Todd? I said he should talk to you. And I said, no, I haven't talked to Todd in a long time. Todd called me up. Todd asked me if I would come on the show. Do you remember this, Zommers? It was the first Wednesday that you guys were on the air. I had so much fun. I said to Todd, I'll come on anytime. And he said, How about next Wednesday? And you've been stuck with me ever since, Summers.
Yeah, with very few exceptions. A couple weeks here and there, and even most of those you found another day.
Yeah, I mean, usually I haven't been traveling as much lately, but yeah, I've come to you, and I've come to you from various locations around the world too. It's just the life I lead. I wish I was leading that life from overlooking the St. Croix River, but unfortunately, that isn't the life that I chose. I have no one to blame but myself. Mr. Zommers, it's time for us to play my favorite game on this show, and I think we have a good one today, don't we?
I believe we do.
Are you going to hit the intro music?
It's time
What's
for
worse?
What's worse?
This or that, this or that. Then of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with
It's time to play What's Worse, the game we play every day. There are no prizes to win. It's just your chance to get your voice heard across the radio, all around the state and around the world on Civic Media and on the Civic Media app. And today we have the question, what's worse, errands or grocery shopping? Errands or grocery shopping. So you can call or text at 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842, or you can text in on the Civic Media app with your answer, what you think is worse, grocery shopping or other kinds of errands, like getting clothes, getting toiletries, things like that.
And remember, that's errands, ERRANDS, not errands, AARONS. Because
yes,
the question
you were
is,
just
which
ahead.
is worse, errands or grocery shopping?
You were Cam in Appleton was just ahead of you. As you were saying that, he texted in errands, AARONs.
Yes, you're wrong about that. I'm going to stand by my man. I am going to be like Tammy Wynette. Zommers is the best in the business. We had that other guy. One day we had guy who wasn't Aaron, and it really threw me off. He's a really nice guy. He went off to teach.
Oh yeah, that was Sam Davison. Yeah.
Sam, yeah, such a nice guy, but not nearly as quick on the trigger and not nearly as diverse with his knowledge. All right, Zommers, so which is worse, errands or grocery shopping? This one's an easy one for me. I don't know where this Ood land, for those who are watching on the stream, where you got this. Oh, it's Foodland. Foodland? Whatever.
I think so.
I don't know where that grocery store is. Which is worse for you, Zommers?
It is a bit of a tough one. I think I'm going to say that errands are worse because grocery shopping, I feel like I try to look at it as an opportunity to try new foods, new recipes out.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's not much I hate more than shoe shopping or clothes shopping. I like to get clothes that fit and look decent and just wear them and be done with it. I'm not a fashion person. So I think errands are probably worse for me.
Yeah, I think errands are. I don't mind grocery shopping, to be honest. Now the interesting thing in my household is my wife and I shop at different stores. So my wife likes to go to Aldi. It might be the European in her, because isn't Aldi German? I think it is. There's Aldis
Something like
all over
that.
the world. Yeah, something like that. Whereas I am a Safeway kind of guy. You know what I used to be when I lived in Madison? Do they still have Piggly Wiggly?
They still have it around the state. I don't know if for sure in Madison, but I know when I lived in Manitowoc with my parents, we go to Piggly Wiggly. It's pretty close to where we live.
Yeah. All right. So people, call in. Tell us what's worse, grocery shopping or errands. Now, I'm going to add one caveat. If you call in to say what's worse is errands, I want to know what kind of errands are worse. I will say this, Zommers, on the stream, you have dry cleaning as the errand. Oh my God. I hate dry cleaning, picking up dry cleaning. I don't think anybody likes dropping off and picking up dry cleaning. I don't know who would, other than the dry
I don't think
cleaner.
I've ever done it.
But you know what? They have out here, they have a bunch of services where you just drop it off at a central location and then pick it up. So, and like in a lot of office buildings, they'll have a derby drop and you just put your shit and, oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. Where you just put your stuff in that, like your bag of dry cleaning.
We got a text from Cam in Appleton that says errands are worse because he has an aunt named Erin, Erin. And when he was a toddler, he got really frustrated when his mom told him that she was going to go do some errands. And like, why won't you tell me why you're going to my aunt's house? And being named Aaron, I had similar things where it'd be like, we're going to go do some errands. And I'm like, what? I'm so confused.
Interesting. Yeah, I just think, not all errands are made the same though, right? Like running to the bank. Now, this is something that we don't really do anymore. I liked going to the bank. Have you ever even gone to a bank?
Yeah.
But not very often, I bet.
No, not super often.
Yes.
Besides just opening up accounts, I've also gone, I used to have a piggy bank full of change. So every once in a while when it'd get full, I'd go in and deposit like $40 worth of change.
Right. I used to love going to the bank. I still kind of like going to the bank, but going to the bank isn't what it used to be. That used to be an adventure because you'd see people you know. I think it's one of the things that's a problem. We have a caller. All right.
Yes, we have.
Who do we got?
Kurt and Madison on the line.
All right. Kurt, are you there?
I am.
Which is worse, errands or groceries?
Errands, and I mean errands, because deja vu. I've screwed myself up, and I apologize. I guess what I'm trying to say is it'd probably be errands, because I feel like that no matter how well you plan it, something else comes up and it blows up your day.
Is there any specific kind of errand that you don't like doing?
Yeah. I have a large blanket that covers our couch because we have a dog. And I have to take it to get it cleaned, given its size, I have to take it to the laundromat. And, kiss a good portion of your day goodbye.
Right. But here's the thing about errands. Okay. So we used in the example dry cleaning, and I said, I can't stand dry cleaning either. But think about this. If I said your errand is you have to run to the hardware store, you'd probably be okay with that.
Yes.
Yes. See, so I think the one question that I have about now Todd's not here to defend this or that. I don't think all errands are created equal. Like, I like going to the hardware store. I can't stand going to the laundromat. I'm like you. I like going to the bank. I don't like going to I don't like running to the post office. I'm not a big post office guy. How are you on the post office?
Thanks, Kurt, for calling in.
Did we lose Kurt?
Yeah, we did. But
what do you think of the post office?
I like going to the post office, but then again, that's usually because I don't have that much stuff to ship. And it was because, I'm helping my family sell some stuff on eBay. So I packed all of it and I just go, and at least the one in Manitowoc they always still had the self-service kiosks open, even when the rest of the office was closed. So I could just go in, there's nobody there, print out my stuff and throw it in the box and be done.
Oh, what's a really bad errand? We'll take the call, but yes, go. Okay, take the call.
We have the Whistler in Richland Center on the line.
Whistler.
What's worse, errands or grocery shopping? Oh, there was a bad connection there. Seems like we lost him. Sorry about that. But we do have Troy in Mount Horeb. What's worse, errands or grocery shopping?
You beat me to it because I was going to say it depends on the errand. But and like you, I like grocery shopping myself, so I would have said
I got one for you. Here's an errand. Here's an errand for you. What do you think of going to the DMV?
Oh my God, that's horrible. And I have to do that every year because I have a CDL. So every year I have a physical, and I have to go in there every year and show them that I did my physical.
Right.
So
what's funny about the DMV in Wisconsin, now living in Virginia? I would take DMV in Wisconsin over DMV in Virginia. In Virginia, it's just the worst. It's an all-day experience.
Yeah, I haven't actually had very many bad DMV.
Yeah,
hey,
it is.
Real quick, was that Miley Cyrus singing "Heart of Glass"?
Yes, isn't it good?
Okay. It sounded like her. I'm like, oh wow, that's really good.
Yeah, it is. Terry Barr is gonna come on, and we're gonna talk about Ozzy in the next segment. But I said to Zommers, I'm like, the thing. So I have daughters who are 13 and 16, so I have to do a lot of Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande and whatever. But the one thing I'll say about those artists is they really honor those who are from like the 80s and are covering their stuff. And Miley Cyrus's version of Heart of Glass is really good.
It is. And yeah, they really definitely do. Yeah. Thanks, Troy, for calling in.
Yeah. Thanks, Troy.
Yeah. And yeah, like Trigby said, next up we have Terry Barr, Madison and Wisconsin radio legend and Wisconsin music aficionado.
This is the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. I just about missed my out because I am not Todd Allbaugh. I'm Trigby Olson. But join us on the other side with the fabulous Terry Barr to talk a little Ozzy Osbourne and music right here on the Civic Radio Network. Oh man, am I lucky. Talk about hitting the radio Powerball on only my 4th time hosted. I have a radio legend. Not only do I get to be on with Pat Kreitlow, who was a star of television when I was in junior high, which is a total lie because we were at Eau Claire at the same time. But now I get to have Terry Barr on to talk Ozzy Osbourne and music, which when I lived in Madison, who was I listening to? Terry Barr.
You poor thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Woo.
Yep. You and my old colleagues in McCallum's office, Lisa Hall and Debbie Monterey.
Oh my gosh.
And it's crazy. So I don't know if you're friends with Debbie, but so I was in St. Louis and driving with my kids, and we were in the morning. She's like on the main radio show in St. Louis. I was like, oh my God. I tried calling in. I couldn't get through. So I called the station. Yeah.
Or maybe that's good. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, she's on billboards all over town. It just totally freaked me out. So
wow.
Anyway, I'm so glad you did this. This will be fun.
Okay. You got it.
Tell me about your talking music. You have a show where you talk music?
Yeah, we do. It's called Max Inc. Radio. It's on live every Saturday night, and it's basically local radio, as in Wisconsin-based musicians. But there is so much great radio in this state, or great music, I should say, in this state. It's easy to fill the hours that we have on a Saturday night. They'll come in, they play live. Some of them, if the band's too big or they're maybe too heavy and can't quite pull off, playing live on the radio, they'll bring in their discs and we'll spin them and talk about it. It's just so much fun.
All right, we got about 15 seconds. I'll come in with one of the songs Trigby requested, but then we have a clip from the one that Terry sent me we can play after that. So just
okay. Right.
Across Wisconsin, pursuing truth wherever it may lead. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, and we're going to listen to a little bit of Ozzy and the greatest guitar riff by Randy Rhoads in the history of rock and roll. And you know what's crazy? So Terry Barr has joined us. This is a huge moment for me. This is even bigger. I know he's not listening, but hopefully somebody will send him the clip. It was a real honor as somebody who in grade school got to watch Pat Kreitlow on WEAU and now gets to be on the radio with him. But it's an even bigger honor to be on the radio and hosting a show with Terry Barr coming on, because I used to listen to Terry when I was growing up in my first
Oh,
job.
that's
Just
so
worry about
sad.
it.
I'm not that old.
No, same age. We're the same age.
Oh, okay.
Neither of us is old like Pat.
Oh, you
Pat's the
got
one
that
who's
right.
old. Yeah, exactly.
I know everyone
Exactly.
comments on that head of hair he has. He definitely has the man anchor hair. Yes.
Doesn't he? Still to
Yeah.
this day, he's got television hair and politician hair. That's the thing.
Oh, no.
And you know what I want to say? I've never actually said it to him. It's like Trent Lott. Trent Lott had politician
Oh.
hair too. Yeah, the ultimate example. Anyway, Terry, I'm so happy to have you on. Now, before you introduce yourself, which you probably don't need to because you're on Civic Media, but Zommers, cue up Terry's choice of her favorite Ozzy Osbourne song, and then let's talk about the Oz a little bit.
Yeah.
We've got a clip here from Ordinary Man featuring Elton John.
Ooh. That is a great choice. You know, the thing, I hadn't heard that song in a long time. That's it's a really good anthem for Ozzy now that he's moved on.
Isn't it something? It really has struck me as I re-listened to it as well. I love his heavier early stuff. I could
Right.
listen to that all day. But when Aaron Zommers asked me, "Do you have a favorite?" Recently, this is my favorite, re-listening and just really hearing those words, and I'm sure what it meant at the time when he recorded this. Wow. Mhm.
Well, yeah, because it's sort of you can hear the element, and honestly, it's one of the things that makes a great song, right?
Yes.
He's really singing about himself,
Absolutely.
right? Like he's exposing his soul.
Yes, and if you watch the video, it's almost like watching a movie about his life. I enjoy this video a lot. The song itself is great. You don't need the video because you already get all those pictures, but when
Right.
you watch the video they put together for this song, wow, it's just history of Ozzy.
So, you know, one of the things that I found interesting, and I saw something because I follow him on Facebook, and Zommers knows this. So, my buddies and I, my River Falls buddies, we go out to Vegas every 5 years, maybe a little less. But we decided the last time we were out there, we could either go to the Stratosphere and see U2, but we were never really U2 guys, or we could go to, that was the Sphere, or we could go to the Stratosphere and see Rat and Night Ranger. So we're the kind of guys who go see Rat and Night Ranger and sit in the VIP section for about $80 and hang out with Stephen Percy after the show.
Amazing. Oh, those guys are
Stephen
so
Percy,
much
by the way,
fun.
looks like a guy who spent his life in Rat and is now 7 years old. But where this connects to Ozzy is I never knew that when Randy Rhoads died, Brad Gillis is who the guitarist for Night Ranger is who he tapped to to replace Randy Rhoads. And Jack Blades talked about it on stage, and he's like, we thought we're never going to see Brad again. And all of a sudden one day Brad shows back up and he's like, I told you I was only doing it for a year.
Yeah. You know, that says a lot about the musicianship and the friendships. I introduced Night Ranger at the Crystal Grand in Wisconsin Dells just a few years ago.
No
and I
way.
hadn't seen them in a long time, but I thought, you know what? They used to be one of my favorite bands. This is going to be a blast no matter what. They kind of blew me away.
Yes.
They haven't lost a thing.
No.
And it
No.
was so much fun. So I'm glad that you recently saw them too.
I had seen them when I was a kid, right?
Me
A couple
too.
of
Yep.
times. But
Yeah.
I will say that, I mean, the drummer, Kelly, whatever his name is, it starts with a K. His voice is going a little bit, but there's no
Oh.
way that you can sing and drum for as long as he has, I think, and be able to do that at 70, what you could do. But what's amazing about them is they're a 5-piece, right?
Mhm.
Actually a
Yep.
6-piece because they got the guy that's playing. But you know, it says something about Ozzy too. So that's what I saw in this thing on Facebook by Brad Gillis. He was saying, you know, Ozzy encouraged him to go back to his roots because Ozzy had said that there was a piece of him that had always regretted leaving Black Sabbath and not doing that the whole way, which I kind of
Wow.
get, right?
I suppose he did get kicked out
He did kind of get kicked out.
at the beginning, but so great to have them all back together time and time again to play.
100%. Terry, can you stay with us through the break and we'll talk a little bit more on the other side? Awesome. I'm Trygve Olsen. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. We're diverting from politics today to talk about Ozzy Osbourne and music with Wisconsin radio legend Terry Barr, which is a great honor for me. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Madison's Real News and Great
He did get kicked out. That is true. He did get kicked out.
Yeah.
But it was funny because Brad Gillis said, you know, that Ozzy had encouraged him that he could stay with him. He wanted to keep him, but he would understand if he wanted to go back to Night Ranger because he regretted leaving.
How about that? Oh.
Yeah. The other thing that I
And
saw with
Zakk
Ozzy.
Wylde. Oh, what a guitar player that guy is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Were the Night Ranger guys? I assume they seem like pretty good guys. They were hanging out after the
so
show.
nice. You know, that's
Yeah.
always the thing when you actually get to meet any of these people.
Yeah.
You are standing there with your fingers crossed thinking, okay, I'm going to be cool. I'm going to be nice. And I hope they are too. And I have been pleasantly surprised so
Yeah.
very many times.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. So we have they're an older couple who are really good friends. They're kind of like surrogate grandparents to my kids. And their son, who's also we do holidays and stuff with them. Their kids live out in California, so they're away. But their son has become good friends of ours. He played in a band here in Arlington. And in the first band that he was in, Dave Grohl was in the band. He's lifelong friends with Dave Grohl. Mm-hmm. And it's so fascinating because Dave still will swing by and see our friends, Mike and I. When he's in town.
That's cool.
It is. Yeah, because it would be like if my buddy Kevin Cayley grew up and was Dave Grohl, right? Like,
Right.
And
Have you seen that documentary that they did? And Dave Grohl's like the main person in it, taking you to places like where Cheap Trick started and other places.
Sonic. Is it Sonic Highway?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the Night Ranger guys seem like they would be good guys, right?
Yeah.
Like, but it was funny because Steven, there weren't a lot of people at the Rat Night Ranger concert, and we had bought these VIP tickets. I was like, they're $100. Like, I'll buy them all for my buddies, and we'll go. We're standing right in front. So after Rat opened up, and afterwards, Stephen Percy comes down with, I don't know if it was his wife or what this lady was, but she came down and he stood kind of right by us, and so we started talking with him. He was a really nice guy.
I'm so
You're right. You never know with people like that. I mean,
Right.
that's true of politicians and stuff too. You never
Yeah.
really know.
Until you actually get to have a conversation. Yeah.
Right.
Because they can fake it, they can do whatever. But then to actually talk to them and their guard is let down a little bit, I love that.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting to me because I think Night Ranger was under like having listened to them more as we were getting ready to go to that concert. They were underrated relative to what they were. Like you think of the Def Leppards and the Van Halens, and by the way, Van Halen's music does not hold up at all.
Ooh.
I don't think it does.
Oh, that's even the very beginning, the early.
No, I don't think even Running with It. I never really was a big David Lee Roth Van Halen guy. But it's interesting to me. You know who's held up amazingly well? And I saw an interview. Sammy Hagar's doing a thing where he interviews all these guys. Have you seen that on YouTube? It's phenomenal.
And that guy's voice is the same.
Yes, and Sammy Hagar's amazing. He's an amazing musician.
Yeah,
But
and
he
he's
interviews
older
Joe.
than I realized.
He's old.
I know.
He is. He's old.
It's
He was old when he
crazy,
joined Van Halen. He was older than the Van Halen guys because he had the whole Montrose period. But he was interviewing Joe Elliott, and it was so interesting seeing the two of them talk. Def Leppard stuff. I've seen Def Leppard probably 30 times.
Yeah,
They've
oh,
held
that's
up
funny.
amazingly
Yeah.
well in part because I think they've all been friends since they were little kids.
That is great.
It's like what they do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
And
and,
you
then
don't
you
see
just
that.
hope they can take care of themselves and their voice. Once
Right.
they start to lose the voice, oh my goodness. Then, especially with social
30
media,
seconds.
people go bananas.
Yes. Yes. All right. When we get to the other side, I'll tell you about seeing Steve Miller at a Def Leppard Journey concert. It was awesome. He's like 80 years old, and he's still touring.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, 10 seconds.
I'm getting close to the microphone, Zomers. Pursuing truth wherever it may lead. Or today, music wherever it may lead. And music probably is the truth that will set you free. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. It's been hijacked a little bit. I'm your regular Wednesday guest, Trygve Olsen, and your guest host today. But in truth, I'm not really the celebrity on here. We have Terry Barr, longtime star of Wisconsin radio.
Oh my
And
goodness.
Terry and I have had this thing kind of going on for a while
Yeah.
where Terry has been texting in about my musical choices. And I know that she has a show where she talks about music. And I thought with Ozzy Osbourne passing and with me taking over the show, much like Matt Damon taking over the Jimmy Kimmel show, I was going to divert and have Terry come on and talk music with me rather than politics, because we all occasionally need a break from the political. Terry, so we were just you're picking the songs now. I like the Paul Stanley Kiss. Like that's a good one.
Here, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. I'll try this. Can you kind of see that?
Oh, it's a picture of Terry Barr and Paul Stanley. Who's the other person in the picture?
That would be my husband.
Oh,
Who is, yeah, he is standing there watching me cry because I'm meeting Paul Stanley. And Paul Stanley and my husband are laughing.
They are having a pretty good laugh at that.
Yeah,
Was
they-
Paul
they
Stanley
had
a
a
nice
moment.
guy?
Pardon?
Nice guy? Was he a nice guy?
Yes. Yes. This is the one that I've always wanted to meet. I've always called him my future ex-husband. Yeah. My husband knows. He always says, well, yes, as long as you invite me to any parties. But I was afraid to meet him because I really did not want to be disappointed. And he did not disappoint.
That is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. I mean, when you do what Terry has spent her life doing and doing what I do, you end up meeting a lot of people who live in the public spotlight. And this is what I found, Terry, and I'd be fascinated what you found. You know, where you really see what kind of person they are is how they are when they interact with people, the person at the door or the person when you're going through a kitchen, and that's when you see the real thing comes out. Most of them are going to be nice to the press. Most of them are going to be nice if you're somebody that's, in the operative world. But
Right.
where you really see it is how are they when the lights aren't on?
Mhm. Absolutely. They let down their guard. And I've seen some of these stars interact with kids. And that's what always blows me away, how cool they are with the kids. That's
Yeah.
when they're just really their authentic selves.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. And it's true of politicians.
I do have big news for you if you would like it.
I would love to have you break news here, and nothing will make Todd more jealous than the guy who hijacked his show, getting Terry Barr to break big
Oh,
news.
this is
Break the big
big.
news.
Yes. I don't know how you feel about Coldplay. You know, they were just in Madison, big stadium
They were just
tour
in the
for it.
news about something. An
Hmm.
astronomer or something?
Yeah, crazy story there. And then, of course, they come to Madison right after that.
Right.
Coldplay just donated a whole bunch of regular size keyboards to the Madison Area Music Association
how
to
cool.
help kids who can't afford their own keyboard get a keyboard and hopefully inspire them to be a musician.
That's really
That
cool.
is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It just
That is
happened.
really awesome. That says a
Yeah.
lot about Chris Martin and the Coldplay guys.
You know, and I
actually.
guess he's done this in a variety of places where they've toured, but
Interesting.
you think, okay, will they do that? And I don't think anybody even really thought about it until all of a sudden here comes emails flying around between Coldplay and Frank Productions and then the Madison Area Music Association. So the executive director just picked up a whole bunch of keyboards.
Wow. That's really cool.
There you go.
I
There's
wonder what I mean, you wonder what's going through Chris Martin's head, because of course they showed that couple on the jumbotron and he's like, "Oh, they're really shy or having an affair." I'm sure he
Right.
didn't think that through, right?
No.
Like, and I bet there's a piece of him who's like, "Oh my gosh, how did I set this off?" Like,
Yeah.
there
Well, and
has to
they
be.
kind of blew it by the way they acted. I don't know if they would have acted normal, if it would have made any difference, but
It
I've
might
read
have just,
a couple
yeah.
of things. Chris is beside himself that this has happened because now people are losing their jobs, but
Right.
whew.
I think the thing is, there's Coldplay. I was never really a huge Coldplay guy. Like
Yeah,
I would go
I
see
go
Coldplay.
either.
It's not really my bag of tea.
Yeah,
But
you and I like the heavy stuff, the old heavy good stuff.
I do, but I will say this. So because my daughter's ages, right? Like we went last year, a year ago, actually, it may have been today. We were at a Taylor Swift concert in Warsaw. And
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah, because we spend my wife's European, and so we spend our summers over in Lithuania. They do, I don't. But I'd gone over. We went to Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is a real musician, and one of the things I like about Taylor Swift is the fact that she goes and does stuff with Def Leppard. She does stuff with Bryan Adams, like, and the Miley Cyrus thing. Have you heard her version of Heart of Glass?
Oh, yes, many times. I was so
Oh
happy you
my
played it
gosh, it's that
today.
I just discovered it. It's phenomenal.
Yes. Miley is that voice, and I
Yeah.
love that, Dolly Parton is her godmother, and she's done a lot of Dolly
Mhm.
songs. I mean, she's just really fun.
Well, and she did with Def Leppard during the Tyler the thing the Dave Grohl, they had that concert for
Oh,
Tyler
yeah.
Hawkins.
Oh, for his
She
drummer.
went
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
drummer's family.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
Hmm.
She might be kind of underrated. The thing about Taylor Swift is what becomes abundantly clear is like she puts on a show, but she's a real musician too.
Yeah. Well, and she can play keyboard, piano. I don't know if she drums, but she can sure play a guitar.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
writes her own music.
Yeah. Well, back to Ozzy. I mean, this is the thing. We got to get back to Ozzy. When you think about Ozzy Osbourne, Ozzy Osbourne, was he the greatest musician? No. Was he one of the greatest entertainers? Yeah. But he's iconic because
Yes.
of he was different. And there's
Yeah.
something important about that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, no one I don't know how people even find their differences anymore. You know, people already say everything's kind of a retread or a redo. Now you talk about a Taylor Swift and a Miley, somehow they've figured it out how to be different, but there's not a
right.
lot of that anymore.
There isn't, and I think the other thing I go down these rabbit holes sometimes. There's this whole series on YouTube of this guy who he takes and applies auto-tune to like stuff that
Oh,
was
no.
before auto-tune. So
Oh, and
like
it
he
wrecks it.
auto-tunes. Do you know that guy?
I
What's
can't
the
remember the name of the channel, but yeah, I know they did it with Robert Plant. That was the one I remember the most.
Yes.
Oh,
Where
no.
with him, he intentionally is flat on a lot of notes because of the blues influence that makes it a darker tone. And when it shifts it up to be perfectly on pitch, it's just, the magic is gone.
Yeah. So the one that there were a bunch of them that I listened to, "Running with the Devil" by Van Halen, and auto-tuning, like, David Lee Roth all over the place, because that's not
Yes,
his
he
thing. He's
is.
not a singer. He's a vaudeville actor is what he is. But but it totally wrecked the song. What made the song great was the imperfections,
Yes,
right?
I agree.
The other thing that was interesting is on that one, and it was fascinating to me. So the one musician from that era, you'll find this fascinating, who had perfect pitch is Steve Perry. Steve Perry from Journey was
Yeah.
spot on. Speaking of Wisconsin, so tell a little bit about your show. But
Aw.
before you do that, I'm going to tell you about a Wisconsin thing that I saw.
Okay.
So last year, when my kids were in Europe, I had to go to give a speech in Detroit. And it turned out that next door, Def Leppard and Journey were doing a concert. And they got up on stage and they said, "We have a special guest who wants to play for you." And Steve Miller got up.
Ah!
And the thing about Steve Miller, when you think about the most famous Wisconsin people, Steve Miller's got to be up.
Oh,
He's got to be in the top 5.
I've
And
actually
he was Les
researched
Paul's
this.
neighbor. Les Paul was
Yes.
his godfather. Have you ever met him?
Yes. Isn't that I love all of that. Yeah. I've researched some of this just for different stories and reasons, but oh yeah, Steve Miller's up there, the Violent Femmes out of Milwaukee.
Yes.
Of course, we claim Garbage as our own.
Mhm.
Rich Vig was just back in town. So we've got it, but I keep waiting. Who's going to be the next one, the new one? I want that to
Well, there's
happen.
Bon Iver, who's
True. Oh, very true. Out of Eau
is
Claire.
a
Yes.
huge deal, and he
Yep.
used to. I mean, he was just a kid and would be playing when
Yeah.
at the campus in Eau Claire. The Bodines, I know they've had some
Yes.
issues happen. I probably have seen the Bodines. I bet I've seen the Bodines 40 times during. I love the Bodines.
They are so
Um,
much fun. Yeah.
They really,
Yeah.
really are, and their music holds up fantastically well.
It
Yeah,
really
Wisconsin.
does.
It's funny because Wisconsin. It's interesting to me because the part of Wisconsin where I grew up, right? Like I grew up in River Falls, so
Okay.
we could go over to Minneapolis and you go to First Avenue, which is one
Oh,
of the iconic rock venues in the world, quite frankly.
yes.
Not just because of Prince, but like you go and look at the wall, everybody has played there, right?
Yeah.
Like U2 played there right before they broke it big. Um, but you don't. So you think of Minnesota had their moment, like with Prince and whatever. Wisconsin's never really had that moment, but to your point, they've produced a lot of big bands
Yeah.
and iconic musicians. They haven't had that moment where they're the center of the music ecosystem. It doesn't.
It's going to
But
happen. It has to.
you think so?
I
Where
hope
will
so.
it be? Milwaukee or Madison?
Between the two, and now even in the Fox Valley, Green Bay and Appleton,
Right.
there are a lot of great original musicians coming out of that area where
Interesting.
when I worked and lived in Green Bay, it was
Yeah.
very much a cover band place, but not so much anymore.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Really interesting. I think part of it is how much the music industry has changed, right? Like you can
Yes.
have Justin Bieber, that definitely not my cup of tea, but like, they can hit it big on the internet.
Right. Right.
And that's
One
the
of
thing that's
my
crazy.
one of my current favorites, and it has been for a little bit, I think the Jonas Brothers are actually really fun.
Oh, the Jonas Brothers? Yeah, the
Yeah.
Jonas Brothers are all right. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that my kids, of course, are more in tune with.
Oh,
The
I'm
ones
sure.
that I
I'm
don't
sure they
get is
love
like
it.
the Ariana Grandes or
Yep.
like, like
Yep.
some of that kind of stuff is pretty recycled. Really recycled. So who are the bands, and maybe if you can come back on the other side, I'd love to hear who you think are some of the cutting edge Wisconsin bands.
Ooh.
Can we do that on the other side?
Sure,
Because
if
we're
you want
almost up.
to.
What do we have
We can
left?
talk-
30
We
seconds,
can talk
Zommers?
music all day.
Zommers has got 4. Well, you have to have me come on the show and we'll talk music sometime.
Oh,
That would
we
be
will
really
do
fun
that. Yes.
too. And in fact, when Todd and I do these tours of Wisconsin, we should team up and go see some live acts in the evening. Invite listeners. We can totally.
I
do that.
love it. I'll go with
This.
you.
All right, we're up against a break. I'm Trigby Olson. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. We'll be back with the fabulous Terry Barr right after this. We could totally do that. That would be so much fun because we're going to be in all these college towns.
Oh,
We're doing
that would
it
be
so it
great.
corresponds with the opening at college.
PJ, that's
Oh.
right. Mile of Music is next week. I'm going to be at that for at least most of the weekend, if not all of it.
Oh, are you? Oh, that's awesome, Zommers.
I always go because, I went to school at Lawrence University for music, so Mile of Music was a big thing we all participated in, and at least this last year when I went, there were still people who I went to school with performing there, and I like to go and be like, yep, you're better than I was. Good job.
Wow.
I have a question for you, and that's this. You know who I think is a fabulous musician from Wisconsin who just doesn't do stuff that would hit is Pat McCurdy.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's talent level is through
Yes.
the roof.
And so clever.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Is he still doing stuff? I guess he still does, like he did during the pandemic. He was doing stuff.
Oh, yeah. I thought I read recently that he's up in Sturgeon Bay.
Oh, is he? Maybe.
Hmm.
We should definitely do. So we're going to do that. It's like the first week or the second week in September. But it would be really fun if we organize somewhere to get, where some band is doing a show. We could promote them some and we could invite a bunch of listeners. And yeah, it'd be really fun.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Do you know which cities you're going to or not quite yet?
I think it will be Eau Claire, probably Stevens Point, Wausau area,
Woo!
Green Bay. We're definitely doing Green Bay because we're going to go to the Packer game.
Okay.
Yeah, and Madison. I mean, we could do Milwaukee. We have flexibility. We could do wherever we want, really.
So we need to start looking at band schedules for those cities.
Mm-hmm. I bet we can find good live music in all of them. Any
Oh,
college
you
town's
know
gotta
it.
have one.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So what
Ooh.
is the Wisconsin music scene at the moment? Like,
It's funny because I'm on Pete Schwaba's show every Friday night. And I have yet in the year and a half probably that I've been on the show with him, I have yet to repeat introducing him to a band from Wisconsin.
interesting.
And that's every Friday.
Hmm.
So to me, that's very hopeful that there's that many original musicians and artists from all across Wisconsin.
We got about 25 seconds. This next song that Terry is having us play, I remember when that came out and it was on the radio all the time, and it's very catchy.
It's really good.
Visit mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
As
All right,
Wisconsin is
here we go.
cheering on the
Across Wisconsin on the Civic. God, that was good.
I gotcha.
Across Wisconsin. I know you did. Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. I'm your guest host, Trigby Olson. I'm joined by Terry Barr. We're talking about the Wisconsin music scene. We're taking a little break. We did talk some politics on the front end today, but I wanted to take a little break. It's always important to talk about some things that aren't politics. Terry and I thought it was great. Terry and I have had this thing going on for a while. She keeps texting in because I pick the music on Wednesdays when I'm on. We have a love of hair metal. She has a show where she highlights Wisconsin artists. And I was a huge fan of her back in the day when she was on Madison Radio. Um, so we're talking the Wisconsin music scene. And before we cut off, I was asking Terry, so what is the Wisconsin music scene like? To what, I would bet it's pretty diverse.
Oh, yeah, that's a great word. Very diverse. We just had our yearly Madison Area Music Association Awards show, and we had, I don't know, 6 different bands or artists play during the show, and you would think, "Ooh, boy, that's a lot of music." Well, they only played 1 song each, but we had jazz, we had rock, we had metal, we had, a cappella. It's just so great to see these musicians come in and just do what they do best.
Right. I think one of the things people don't fully get is how much music unites, right? Like,
Yeah.
I and I had to start this Substack, and when I started it, it was right about the time that the European Song Contest was on, and
Ooh.
having lived over in that part of the world, like people in America don't really fully appreciate what the European Song Contest is like. Talk about diversity in music, but it got me thinking about how it really does pull people together, and I think it says something about Wisconsin that you have that diversity in the music, and maybe part of the love of, like, my playlist. My daughters give me such a bad time because it's all over the place, right? On Spotify when they send the year
Yeah.
end, it's everything
I love
from
that.
Metallica to the Suburbs to ABBA to Taylor Swift, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that makes Wisconsin unique, is that there is no single sound. Right?
No.
Like Seattle hit it big because they had a sound. The Twin
Yeah, the
Cities,
grunge,
Minneapolis,
yes.
St. Paul hit it big because they had Prince and that sort of new wave sound. LA had the
Right.
Sunset Strip, right? But
Yes.
Wisconsin has this diversity, everything from polka bands to metal,
Yes, I love
thrash, right?
that.
And it says a lot about the state.
It does. It's so interesting, isn't it? I love that you brought that word out right away, diversity. And, just to think on a same weekend, you could still go see a polka band and the next day go somewhere else and you're seeing a totally different kind of Wisconsin music. And that's what's so great.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Wisconsin, well, and there's a rich tradition of it. I mean, there's Summerfest. There's, what's the name of the huge, I can't think of the name of the concert place. We saw Motley Crue and they were filming the Same Old Situation video back in
Ooh.
the day. What's the big outdoor concert venue? Maybe it's not
Oh,
still there, but
Alpine
it was like
Valley.
Alpine Valley. Exactly.
Yes. East Troy. Yep.
East Troy. Yeah. And then you have, Madison and all the music scene that's going on there. You could see you could see everything from a polka band to a rap artist
Oh,
to
yeah,
heavy metal,
absolutely.
all in a weekend.
Mhm.
And I wonder if people from Wisconsin get that most places aren't like that. I mean, you got to go to a pretty big city to be able to capture that.
I
I think.
agree. And I'm not sure. And, that's what our show is about, Max Inc., our music show on
Yeah.
Saturday nights. We try to bring in these artists to introduce them to the listeners. And I do the same thing on Pete Schwaba's Nightlight show every Friday night. And I think what struck me was when Pete said, after about a year and a half of this, I have not given him the same band twice. I keep
Right.
introducing him to new music from Wisconsin.
Fantastic. Well, if you ever want somebody to come on and be your sidekick and talk music, and
Oh,
I will
we are going to do this,
all
Trigby.
right. That will,
Absolutely.
and I will hold up my end. I'm going to get on Todd. Zomer's already made a note of it. When we do our little tour of the state, Zomers and I are working on another What Makes Wisconsin Great tour. In
Oh, I love
addition
it.
to doing our shows at college campuses, we need to get Terry to come along, and part of what makes Wisconsin great is the music. And
I'm in.
maybe what we can do, we're gonna coincide it so the Packers play on Thursday night and the Badgers play on Saturday. we could probably catch some really good music at one of the games. They always have really good bands
Absolutely.
at that Leinenkugel's Lodge. They always have some. I'll give the Packers credit for highlighting Wisconsin bands because they do actually in that lodge. They deserve credit for that.
There's a new event center in Green Bay called Epic, EPIC. Any big bands they bring in, the opener is a Wisconsin band.
That is really cool.
I think that's so great and really important to support your locals.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Terry. I can't wait when we get up. We'll catch back up. I'll get your contact, and Todd obviously knows how to get a hold of you, and then we'll go to work on that for September.
I look forward to it.
Me too. I want to thank everybody. Mr. Zommers, thanks so much for driving the ship. You deserve great praise. Thanks to you, all the listeners. I'm glad we got some politics in. I'm glad we got some music in. We didn't get any Green Bay Packers in, but if I ever get a chance to drive the boat again, I will make sure we do that. For all of you, no matter what you do, I'm going to try and do my best, Todd here. Keep banging on your drum. Bang on it like you're whatever your favorite musician is. If you want to be Alex Van Halen, you can bang your drum that way. If you want to be Dave Grohl, you can do it that way. But just keep banging your drum. This is the Todd Allbaugh Show. Thanks for listening and stay tuned.
All right. Thank you,
How
Terry,
did I
for
do,
coming on and staying
Zommers?
with us.
Terry, how did I do?
That was awesome.